And my scripture today is taken from Matthew chapter 16, verse 19. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Thus ends the reading of our scripture, Matthew chapter 16, verse 19. So many seeking souls in this world, looking for what will quench their thirst of fulfillment and happiness, seeking what will satisfy them and make them feel whole and complete. How many times have we thought, when this happens, I will be happy. When I'm hired for my dream job, or buy the house with the white picket fence, then that will make me really happy. And for a brief period of time, they may bring us happiness. But what happens after the newness wears off? Many are back to seeking, still thirsty to satisfy that hunger deep within. When the master teacher taught us, we have the keys to the kingdom of heaven, he wasn't telling us that when we leave this earthly plane of existence, we will experience heaven or a blissful state of being. Rather, he was teaching us that we can experience heaven right here on earth. First, let's look at what heaven and hell symbolize. Heaven, it's not a place that we go to. It's a state of consciousness. It's our state of consciousness. And contrary to popular belief, hell is not a place we go to either. It too is a state of consciousness. And we have the choice. We can live in a heavenly or a hellish state of consciousness right here, right at this moment. Scripture also says that what we bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and what we loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Meaning that what we create in our physical world affects our spiritual self. What we do to the one will affect the other, and vice versa. As we grow spiritually, it will have a profound impact on our physical world. And likewise, the choices we make in the physical will affect us spiritually. They work together. When we leave this physical world, the only thing that we take is our consciousness. And our consciousness doesn't magically change into a saint because we've shed the physical body. We want to be mindful that what we create and to make the effort to create this heavenly state of consciousness while we're here. So, how do we experience heaven while we're here on earth? The path we take to get there depends on what resonates with us. I've always believed there are many spokes on the wheel. The spiritual path isn't a one-size-fits-all. In its own customs and practices, each path leads us to God. It's a matter of choosing the path that we are most comfortable with and sticking with it. And the most important thing is that it leads us to God. While I was on vacation, Reverend Jackson loaned me a few books, and one was written by a very enlightened yogi by the name of Sadhguru. And there was a quote in his book that really resonated with me. He said, "The only way out is in." If you go outward, it is an endless journey. If you turn inward, it is just one moment. Think about this for a moment. The only way out is in. If we are seeking happiness in the outer world, it is an endless journey. If we are thinking we will be happy when we get this or we get that, we will continually seek. The outward journey is endless. Looking for something outside of us, yeah, it will temporarily quench our thirst. The reason being is if we are not fulfilled inwardly, nothing we do will ever be enough. No outward gratification can fill this space within us. The path to enduring happiness is an inward job. No one can do it for us. We have to do the work, rolling up our sleeves and doing the work on ourselves. No more running, no more hiding. Facing what we need to face and charting a path forward. Learning to be satisfied with who and what we are. Uncovering that precious jewel of the God consciousness that dwells within us. As the quote says, when we turn inward, it is just one moment. This is the key to opening the door to the kingdom of heaven. The analogy that came to my mind as I was preparing my sermon is baking a cake. We're like the cake. To create a rich, delicious cake, we need to select and add the best ingredients in appropriate proportions to create the batter. Too much sugar, it's too sweet. Too little flour, and it falls. We don't want to skimp on the quality of the ingredients. Once we have the best batter, put it in the oven and let it bake. Now comes patience, allowing it to bake until it is finished, and knowing when to take it out of the oven. And once we have this rich, fluffy cake, now we get to add the icing. The icing is intended to complement the richness of the cake and to add to it. It's not a substitute for the cake. Just imagine if somebody brought you a plate of icing. That just sounds a little too sweet to me. It wouldn't be very good. The recipe for our fulfillment is to go inward and to work on ourselves, selecting the finest ingredients for our batter and creating our inner happiness. Once we attain inner fulfillment and we are happy with ourselves, now we're ready to top it off with the complimentary frosting. This is the recipe for a fulfilling life. Everything we add to our lives is like the frosting. The new car, the new job, the relationship, the fun summer vacation. Whatever it is that helps us to enjoy our life. These things are not a substitute for doing the inner work. They are the complementary additions. Self-fulfillment is an inside job, and it's something that only we can do for ourselves. So let's dive a little deeper, figure out how we can create self-fulfillment. Loving ourselves and embracing the divine love in us is a cornerstone of our happiness. How many of us can truly say that we love ourselves? Are we looking for someone to validate us and shower us with their love, to complete and fill us? If we are asking someone else to satisfy our desire for love, we will constantly be seeking. And is it really fair to have that expectation that another person should continually be responsible for filling us up? Part of the batter of our cake is to love ourselves. When we learn to love ourselves, the energy shifts from, I need you to fill me up, to, I am whole and I am complete. And your love is the frosting on my cake. Our spirit is a spark of God, a spark of divine love. When we embrace the divine love within us, and we are connected to the source of divine love, or God, we will live in the unlimited flow, whole and complete, not dependent on someone else to fill this big space. Instead of taking and taking until we drain someone else, we learn to give and share the indwelling love that we've created within ourselves. As we do, it is so plentiful. It radiates from us out into the world to every person that we touch. Years ago, I read a book entitled The Celestine Prophecy. Some of you may remember it. And there was a chapter about relationships that has stuck with me 20 plus years later. It said that when two halves come together, it's like fireworks. It makes each person feel whole, and this relationship is electrifying. But in time, it begins to break down because each half continually needs the other person's 50% to be complete and fulfilled. The relationship doesn't have the space to grow because they are continually competing for the other half's energy. Now envision this. When two wholes come together, They are already complete. They don't need the other person to be whole. Their energy comes together to create even greater things using their unique talents. If we are not fulfilled on the inside and love ourselves, how can we possibly expect another to undertake that monumental task? And this doesn't just apply to relationships. Relationship with a mate. It applies to friendships. It applies to all relationships in our life. Another ingredient of our batter is forgiveness. Learning to forgive others and learning to forgive ourselves. You see, when we forgive another person, we are releasing the situation. We are freeing ourselves from carrying that energy. Holding on to a grudge doesn't hurt anyone but us. And it's a heavy burden that we carry. We can spend hours hot under the collar, stewing about something or what someone said or did. But does it hurt them? No, it hurts us. So we want to release it. Release it and let it go. It was never ours to carry to begin with. Don't hold on to it. Just as importantly, we need to forgive ourselves. I don't know about you, but I am more forgiving of others than I am of myself. I don't have a problem forgiving others, but I can be my own worst enemy and beat up on myself. So I'm learning, a work in progress. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to miss the mark. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. Be patient. Be kind towards yourself. Love yourself. And lastly, another ingredient of our batter is self-care. Taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When I spoke last month, my sermon talked about what we are feeding ourselves. Feeding our consciousness with positive, uplifting, motivational thoughts, surrounding ourselves with people who are uplifting, meditating, and connecting with the small G-O-D within us and connecting it to the source of the capital G-O-D. Feeding our physical body with wholesome and nutritional food. Being patient and kind to ourselves as we learn and as we grow. These are just a few of the things that we can do to feed ourselves. We can create heaven right here on earth by going within, connecting to God in our meditation, and awakening to our fullest potential. Divine love filling us and radiating from us. Loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves, and caring for ourselves. And once we have taken the time to create the rich, delicious batter, we have everything we need, and everything else is the icing on the cake. The only way out is in. Namaste.